Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. I hope all of you are doing well. Today we are going to start the next exercise, that is 6.3, multiplication of fractions. Multiplication of fractions. My dear students, today we are going to learn some basic rules which you have to apply to solve all of these sums. If you stick to these rules and these methods always in your head, okay, if you have a mindset that you are going to solve all of these sums using these rules only, then you will be able to solve all the sums without facing any sort of difficulties. Okay, my dear students, so let us take without delaying because we are lagging behind. And a very important note which I would like to make over here is that we are still in chapter 6. So that is why we have to complete this chapter. Our target is to complete this chapter within the upcoming classes, within 1 to 2 classes. We have to complete this chapter, because if we don't complete the chapter, then we will be facing issues. We won't be able to complete the syllabus. Okay, so my dear students, please pace up. Please increase your speed in solving the sums. So without delaying, let us move directly to the sum. So let us take a basic example, 2 by 4 into 1 by 2. So this is how a simple multiplication of fraction sum looks like. Okay, you will have fractions with a multiplication sign between them, and the question will be or they will ask you to simplify or calculate or evaluate these fractions. Yani these two fractions will be multiplied, or three fractions will be multiplied in some cases, and they will ask you to simplify or evaluate. Yani you have to find out the answer of this. How to do that? Before going to solve this sum, I'm going to make you understand some basic rules which you are going to follow. The first rule is that numerators and denominators divide numerators and denominators. Okay, so that means when we are going to simplify these fractions, then we can't divide the numerator with the numerator or denominator with the denominator. We always divide the numerator with the denominator, or the denominator with the numerator. That is, you can't divide the denominator with another denominator and a numerator with another numerator. Okay, we have to divide a numerator with the denominator and or a denominator with the numerator. Okay, the first rule is this one. The second rule is that both of the above chosen numbers are divided by the same number. This is the most important rule. What do I mean by this? That if you are dividing this numerator from this denominator, then you have to divide both of these numbers by the same number. If you're dividing this number with this number, then you have to divide both of these numbers with the same number. And the third and the final rule which we are going to follow while solving these kind of sums is that the first rule, it depends upon the first rule. Like, that's the sub part of the first rule. Okay, basically the first rule is that the numerator is either the numerator is divided by the denominator or the denominator is divided by the numerator. Okay, you can choose anyone, but you have to keep in mind that the upper numbers are always divided by the lower numbers. You can't divide the upper numbers with the upper numbers and the lower numbers with the lower numbers. You have to divide the upper numbers with the lower numbers or the lower numbers with the upper numbers. By lower and upper I mean denominator and numerators respectively. Okay, so the sub part of the first rule is the final rule, and that is you can divide the numerators and denominators crossways, okay, depending upon the sum. I will be showing you some examples. Either you can divide the numerators and denominators crossways, as in this case, or you can divide the numerator and denominator straightforward like this, okay, up to down, up to down. Okay, you can choose the numerator and denominator of the same fraction and you can divide. Okay, this rule is also valid, and it depends upon the sum which we are going to solve, and more you practice, more expert you become of these rules, and you don't have to learn these rules. Don't get afraid, you don't have to learn these rules, you just have to keep these rules in your mind while solving the sums. Now I'm going to show you some examples so that the concept will be clear to you. So the first example, the very first example which we have in front of us is 2 by 4 into 1 by 2. Now the first thing, okay, what is the approach of solving these sums? Okay, you have to know that, otherwise you will get confused. The first approach, my dear student, is that look at the numerators and the denominators and to select only two numbers at a time. To select only two numbers at a time. Don't look at all the numbers. Just look at the numerators and denominators and select only two numbers at a time which are divisible by a particular number, which are divisible simultaneously by a particular number, which are divisible at the same time by a particular number. What do I mean by simultaneously is that you can divide both of these numbers which you are selecting by a particular number at the same time. So you can see I have selected these two numbers, 2, 2, 2, 2, and always keep it in mind that when you select the numbers, you are selecting in the numerator and the denominator. Don't select both of the numbers in the numerator and the denominator. You have to select either crosswise like this I have shown you, or straightforward. That is, the numbers must be up and down. They must be diametrically opposite to each other. Okay, so I have selected these two numbers in this sum, 2, 2. Why? Because the first rule, they are following the first rule. They are located diametrically opposite, and the first rule, and the second one is that both of these numbers are divisible by a particular number, and that is 2. You can divide both of these numbers by 2. So I am dividing. Look how to divide now. So the first rule is that to selection. The first rule is selection. The third rule is to divide. The second rule is to check which number will be dividing of these numbers, and the third rule is to divide. So I am dividing the first one. 2 1s are 2. So you just write how many times are you able to divide this number by that particular number which you used to divide, or which you are using to divide. So I am using 2 because 2 can divide both of these 2's. Okay, so 2 1s are 2, and again 2 1s are 2. Now you cannot divide further. So the step when you can't divide any number further, you will stop there and you will just multiply the numerators and the denominator. Again I am repeating. The step where you are unable to divide, because you can't divide 1 by 1, 1 by 4, that is illogical. How can you divide a number by 1? That will give you the same thing. Okay, so that is of no use. So that is why the step where you stop, the step where no further division is possible, you just multiply the numerators and the denominators and write the answer. So 1 1s are 1 and 4 1s is 4. So that is the final answer. Let us take another example to make concepts clear to you. Now let us take this example, my dear students. 3 by 6 into 12 by 9. I have taken this example. So you can see the first step is to select numbers. So we can select these numbers. We can select these numbers. Either you can select these two numbers, because you can see both of these numbers are divisible by a particular number, that is 3. So that is the most important thing. Both of the numbers selected has to be divided by a particular number. You cannot divide 6 by 2 and 3 by 2. That's impossible. Okay, you can't divide 3 by 2. So both of the numbers selected has to be divided by a particular number which you are choosing. So that's why if you choose these two numbers, then you can say both of these numbers are divisible by 3. That is why we can choose, because either we can choose the numbers crossways or we can choose the numbers straightforward, yani up and down. Okay. So similarly, these two numbers can also be selected. These two numbers can also be selected because both of these numbers are divisible by 3. As you know, 3 4s are 12 and 3 3s are 9. You have to know the tables, otherwise you will be unable to do these sums. Okay, so I understood, my dear students. So I am dividing this one. 3 1s are 3. Both of these numbers will be divided by 3. 3 1s are 3, 3 2s are 6. Next one, 3 4s are 12 and 3 3s are 9. Now here in the above we have 1, here in the denominator we have 2, here in the denominator we have 4, here in the numerator we have 4, and here in the denominator we have 3. Now check whether you can divide the numbers further or not, and always remember that the numbers are divided up to down or down to up. Okay, you cannot divide the numbers adjacent numbers, that's wrong. Okay, so you can see 1 by 3, 1 and 3 cannot be divided, 1 by 2 cannot be divided, that's okay, illogical. If you no matter if you divide 2 by 1, that will give you 2, so that is in nonsense. So you cannot take these two numbers, you can't take these two numbers as well, because both of these numbers are not divisible by a particular number. Okay, but look here, 2 and 4, these two numbers are divisible by 2, so we can divide. So 2 1s are 2 and 2 2s are 4. So you can see I am using the same number to divide both of these selected numbers. 2 1s are 2 and 2 2s are 4. You just write here how many times you are getting that number by counting the table of that chosen number which you are using to divide. Okay, so I'm using 2 to divide both of these numbers. That is why I am writing 2 1s are 2, 2 2s are 4. So just you have to write how many times you are able to count and divide that number. Now look, here we have 1, here we have 1, we are unable to divide. Here we have 2, here we have 3, we are unable to divide. This also we can't divide, these two set, these two pair, this pair, we can't divide this pair. So that means we are unable to divide these numbers further. So what will be the final answer then? 1 2s are 2 and 1 3s are 3. Okay, I hope the concept is clear to you now. Let us take a final example to make the concept more clear to you. So look at over here, 2 by 3 and 1 by 3. 2 by 3 and 1 by 3. My dear students, 2 by 3 and 1 by 3. So you can see that no matter which two numbers you select, you will be unable to divide. Okay, you can't divide 2 by 2 and 3, 1 by 1 and 3, 2 and 3, 1 and 3. You can't divide. So if you are unable to divide the numbers in the very first step, then you just multiply the numerators and the denominators. That will be the final answer. Hope you understood.